Welcome to the Social Media Church podcast. I'm Neil Smith, joined by an old friend and someone that's not new to church technology, but a hero to me in this space, and somebody who's pioneered incredible technologies through the years and doing some incredible things at Gloo. Brad Hill. Brad, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Nils, what a generous intro, but great to see you. Great to be here. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I want to go two paths, and then I want to get really geek out for our audience here on the podcast. But I want to go your path. I want to talk about the Gloo path, but I think your path is so aligned to the Gloo path. Can you talk a little bit about your background in church technology, ministry technology, and what led you to the work you're doing today?
Sure. Yeah, it's been 25 years or so that I've been in this space, and that's how you and I got connected at various points, Bills. But yeah, going back really to kind of earliest days of the internet, late 90s, early 2000s, and I was curious, like a lot of us were. And for those who remember, like tools like Microsoft Front Page,
100%. My first website built on Front Page.
Yeah, man. There you go. So, but man, applying that to a church was a pretty foreign thought. Like There wasn't a lot of that out there. And so I actually, earliest days, my church I was attending, McLean Bible Church in Washington, DC area, started as a volunteer, building a website for them. A couple other churches saw it, needed help. Next thing you know, it kind of became a business. And so I found myself at this really enviable place, I thought, which is, man, how cool is this that I can be using technology? I could be in a business, which was actually what I majored in, was business.
Yeah.
But also serving ministry at the same time. And my whole career, like those three circles, business, ministry, and innovation, technology.
Yes.
Man, if I could find where those intersect, that's really a sweet spot. So, but what I often talk about, and this is where there's some parallels, I think, to right now.
Yeah.
In those early days of the internet, when I would get on the phone with a pastor, there was a lot of education. There was a lot of new ground, blue ocean to cover. And you would hear questions and even objections, right? Like, well, I heard that dial-up speeds are really slow.
Yes.
Or I heard that there might be adult content on the internet.
Yes.
Why would my church go there?
Yes.
And so a lot of the conversation was really almost like educating about the category, much less about selling a product. And now, of course, it's like it would be unheard of to not have a presence online.
Right.
And I saw the same thing about a decade later in the span of online giving really coming into the mainstream.
Yeah.
That was when I was president over at Ministry Brands.
Yeah.
And then here we are with AI.
Yes.
And also some of the connected ministry work that Gloo is doing. So
it seems. Well, let's talk about this. I want to though talk about, because you have endured, I would say, I can't imagine the scars you have endured by being an early adopter in the ministry technology space. Because I remember those days of a website, and I was a youth pastor at a church, and I built our church, website on Front Page. And I remember hearing from congregants of like, are we building a porno site on this World Wide Web? And it was as if I was evil by trying to create a digital front door for our church. Now it would be unheard of, but it wasn't. That was a complicated time because it was so new. And then online giving was, oh, you're going to take credit cards, so you're going to encourage people to go into debt. Would give it to the church. There were so many different reasons why digital giving was a bad thing too. That excuses I think that church leaders made, and now we're moving. Technology isn't slowing down. It's speeding up in a lot of ways. So let's go the Gloo path now a little bit. So you have been the guy that has led the way and used that gifting of business, technology, and ministry in such an incredible way around key areas today. So let's talk about how Gloo is now meeting some new needs of the church through innovating technologies.
Sure. No, it's always fun to go down the nostalgia.
Well, nostalgia might be a strong word there.
Yeah, right. Man, we could talk about Flash and some other things.
Yeah.
So with Gloo, the way we would generally describe Gloo is it's a trusted platform that is really designed to release the collective might of the church. Big statement. What we're saying there is we believe that the church actually has an abundance of resources and value that it can exchange with people, but also think about all the other organizations that serve into the church, content, technology, services, et cetera. And so much of it is really kind of disconnected, or it's very inefficient. I run into a lot of churches that build their own apps, that they run their own digital campaigns. And we would say at Gloo, a lot of that is very well placed. But also we would say, hey, there's a lot of benefit if we can get better connected as kind of a faith community, faith ecosystem. Man, we could release a tremendous amount of ministry impact. And, even back to what you were sharing, like with the website stuff, the church maybe hasn't always had the best history in thinking creatively about how do we put ourselves in the pathway of the culture we're trying to reach. And so, like in those early days, the web, yes, there's adult content, and yes, there's bad stuff, but shouldn't the most redemptive, timeless story, the ultimate truth that we all carry, this message we proclaim, shouldn't that be using this technology too? And so that's actually a big tenet for us at Gloo. We've talked about it with data, with various connection tools, and now with AI. We don't actually think it's optional that the church consider technology. We actually would go further and say we believe there's an imperative for all of us in the church to think well about how we use technology. Doesn't mean we need to rush in. Doesn't mean we need to be reckless. But Gloo, in addition to connecting, I think Gloo is also really trying to just kind of host the conversation and help the church really think well about how we approach tech.
Wow, that's so good. And I would say it's so good and so vague in some ways. And I think that's often the challenge with technology. And I've heard, I think we've all watched. I say we've all. A lot of us have watched even these conversations in Congress where they've talked about data, and you can hear the congressmen that clearly don't know what they're talking about, asking questions because it is so confusing. And this was just like the World Wide Web, back when you started building websites, is like, I just have no context for what you're talking about. And so like maybe I feel like I'm open, but I'm not open. How do with as we continue to go through these cycles, how do maybe we approach from a mindset standpoint, even to start, or even as I think about maybe some of the people listen to this podcast are communications or database directors at their churches, and they want to help their pastors embrace emerging technologies like AI. How can they maybe be advocates for these emerging technologies internally in their churches?
Well, it's a great question. And I think we go back almost certainly to scripture and some patterns we see about ministry in general. And, Gloo, for those who may know a little bit of the background, Gloo's been around for about 13 years now. And we have a lot of really bright thinkers here that come out of ministry. Also, some have come out of business. Our founder, Scott Beck, has been at the helm of a number of big franchises. And with these large enterprises, you almost have to go backwards and think small. And in a church, if we think small, you eventually get down to what we would call the core interaction is one person in a relationship with another person, helping them grow in some way. Could be evangelism, could be discipling, small group, etc. We call that person a champion, a frontline champion of someone else. So anytime we approach, honestly, any pursuit, technology, content, whatever, the question we ask is, how is this supporting that relationship? Because the way God's wired all of us, it's actually through relationship that we grow. Content is great. Sermons are important. Technology is great. But those ideally are enablers or assistants toward ultimately that relationship. So, we think about, let's say, digital marketing, and how it is that we're putting a message out or attracting and getting people into our churches, how we think about what they're going through, like the journey they're on, the felt needs they may be carrying at that moment, the better we can connect and be relevant to what's happening in their lives, we see through a lot of trial and error that that's a really effective way to engage a culture that, quite honestly, doesn't always believe the church is super relevant or is reaching us. And so if you put the relationship at the center, good things happen.
Well, and when you use that language, I think I love the way you described that because I think that that's at the core of what churches are doing, is we're pursuing God in relationship with each other. And I think as I look about it, I went to Rockbridge Seminary, and it's a Saddleback kind of backed seminary. And so we talked about kind of those 5 purposes of fellowship and discipleship and evangelism and mission. And I think as you look at all of those things, the technology that you're talking about in relationship intersects. It creates evangelism opportunities for us. It creates discipleship opportunities for us. It creates fellowship opportunities for us, and uses technology to really optimize a lot of those experiences. And technology used well in many ways disappears. But I think as we have our minds open to the possibilities, I'm really fascinated by even your language of that it's in some ways an imperative for church to lean into these opportunities when it comes to how we, effectively accomplish our mission that we're called to. So, Brad, I want to geek out now a little bit as we get into AI. And I saw, and I reached out to you because I saw what Gloo was doing with the big AI initiative. What led to that? Or maybe talk about what Gloo is doing in AI and what you're hoping to come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is reminiscent. I know we started by going down like memory lane.
Yes,
a little bit. I don't know, Nils. I see so many parallels right now with the internet and how it just fundamentally changed culture.
Yeah.
I can't think of a culture that wasn't changed by the internet. Education, medicine, business, entertainment,
everything. Yes.
And so I think those of us that are kind of keeping our eyes on things are seeing the same thing begin to take root. We know that AI has been actually around quite a while, but there's been some important changes recently that suddenly thrust it in the mainstream.
Right.
And there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, concern around what is this technology? Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah.
Right. All of those questions. And these are familiar questions. We've heard these around the internet. I actually went back and looked at the printing press, and there's quite a bit of scrutiny and even naysaying in those.
Yeah.
Even when the first book printed ever was the Bible. So we're here again. And so from Gloo's seat, we see tremendous opportunity, certainly. And we can talk about how AI could support relationship and ministry broadly. But we also see the incredible need for thoughtfulness and to be responsible in the way that we approach this new technology. Because like many technologies, the thing itself maybe is neither good nor bad. It's amoral mostly, but it can be steered. It can be used. Yes. And so we know that every other part of culture is racing toward this thing. Yeah. Our contention is the church not only hopefully won't lag behind or be neutral, but the church can lead here. But to do that, we need a place where we can gather. We need a place to find all the content. We need to cut through the noise. We want to accelerate great efforts that are out there to build tools and to learn how to use these well and apply them. So the announcement Gloo made here a couple of weeks ago was really to launch a big initiative. We call it AI and the Church Initiative. It's a big tent. We have a lot of partners, many names that many of your listeners would know that are doing great work. And Gloo is really seeking to just be the place where we can come together, we can see what's happening, and hopefully get practical ideas.
Yes.
Maybe small ways to start. And we'll be looking also at ways to build AI into Gloo's own tools. But as bigger than that is really the idea of convening all of the other great work that's happening so that all of us in the church can be responsible, thoughtful, but be in a leadership position on AI.
I love that. I want to reiterate what you said is the church can lead here. This is a moment I think that we have as church leaders to step into emerging, technologies that so align to our mission and be leaders and not laggards. And I think the church historically has done that in some ways, and most recently has lagged behind. And I think we have an opportunity to be leaders here. Brad, I'm so grateful that you and Gloo are stepping into this and leading into this and challenging church leaders. And I want to do the same here, from my seat. I do have one problem with what you're doing. As you mentioned, people behind this. Kenny Jang is behind this, and Kenny is my personal nemesis. And so Kenny, who is also on a recent episode where we talk about AI, I know is one of the leading voices that is partnering with Gloo, and he's so excited about this conversation as well. And so I love some of the leaders and that Gloo is bringing together in voices, because this is not a topic that it's not like in many ways, it's not like social media where it's like jump in and use it. It's like we kind of need to figure this out. Like there's not a definitive, this is exactly what we do with AI. There are things that we can tangibly begin to do, but in many ways you have to understand it before you can really begin to utilize it most effectively. And to your point, it's going to be like the internet again, where I think when we first saw the internet, it was like, oh, this replaces encyclopedias. Well, it's done a whole lot more than replace encyclopedias in our lives. It has disrupted or intersected or created efficiencies, but it is a part of my kids. My kids, they're like, poor dad. Like, it was like me walking to school with no shoes on from my grandparents to like, man, I grew up without the internet. Like, that was suffering to my kids of like, they can't imagine that world where AI is going to be as disruptive, if not more disruptive, than the World Wide Web itself, the internet and the connectivity that it brought us. And so there are so many possibilities. And I love that challenge of the church can lead here. Brad, if we connect a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and you say this was successful, or the church stepped in and really have led the way in this space. This is what like we at Gloo are dreaming about. What do you hope the stories are that we're telling down the road in this conversation?
Yeah, I love that question, Nils. We sometimes will sit around and dream about what's that press release we want to issue a year from now.
Yeah, that's good.
Somewhat for Gloo, but actually for the church, what would you want to say? And you mentioned earlier, just getting practical, right now Gloo is helping churches do a few key things. We're helping churches reach more people that we're not reaching. Yeah. We think AI can play a really important role there. We're helping churches engage the people they already serve, whether that's congregants, attendees, community members, et cetera. We're helping leaders know more about the people they serve so they can make better decisions about leading. So in all these areas, reaching more people, engaging people, knowing your people, measuring the true state of discipleship, even funding. We see opportunities in all these areas. So, we can talk about specific metrics. Like today on the Gloo platform, there's about 32,000 churches connected.
Okay.
And one interesting stat, about every 2.5 minutes, we connect a person to a church on Gloo. We do that today through a variety of digital campaign partners.
Yeah.
I would love in a year for that number to 10x.
Yeah. I love that.
And that starts to have ripple effects across the country.
Yeah.
And so, using every bit of technology we can muster to this, coupled with good thinking, the right content and training. A lot of our pastors and leaders and volunteers maybe were trained up in a generation where we had a little bit more of a build it, they will come reality. And it's, it doesn't work that way anymore. So your first message, your first text, your first encounter with somebody maybe needs to look different. And maybe there's ways I can help you in that communication to say the right next thing or to, have a good approach. So these are all areas where partners and technology can work together in concert, again, to support the relationship.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have some big numbers that we can share in a year.
Yeah.
We're well on the way, but yeah, we're excited for where the church is going to take things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so if a church is not one of those 32,000 churches already connected to Gloo. Where's the best place for them to start?
Well, so yeah, and the good news is every church can create an account for free.
Love that.
And since we're kind of talking about AI today, I didn't get in that doorway. So Gloo, and Gloo is spelled Gloo for those who don't know. A lot of things we're apparently not good at spelling, but
that's funny.
Or maybe the name. But gloo.us/AI. That page it'll be something we update quite a bit. As you create the account, by the way, we've built something called the AI in the Church Hub. So first thing you can do when you get in is that hub is going to tell you what are the events I should be paying attention to. Is there content? Are there news articles? Are there any tools I should be checking out? Kind of help me cut through the clutter.
Yeah,
it's all free. We offer free texting to every church as well on the platform. And then there's additional things you can take advantage of, some free, some paid.
Yeah.
But gloo.us/AI would be a great way to join in the community conversation.
I love that. Brad, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us and to share a bit of your story and to share your wisdom. But thank you even more so for the incredible work you're doing, for using your gifts, stewarding your gifts, and stewarding Gloo as a company and as a platform, because it is so needed that we. This is not something that one church could do. This isn't one. It's hard for me to imagine even that one company can do. And I love too that you're even partnering with others to run in your lane of integrating and connecting, creating connection tools. It's such a cool thing. I have loved the journey of Gloo, watching it. It's awesome to see now that there's 32,000 churches on the platform. I know though that it needs to be over 100,000 churches on there, and I think the more it actually creates more value and connectivity for others. And so I can't wait to see how Gloo continues to innovate. And we are in a moment, for everyone listening, that I want to encourage you that we're in a moment of early adopter opportunities. And I do think there's opportunities to waste a lot of time and energy in this moment, but I think there's also massive opportunities to really see incredible breakthrough. And so I hope that everyone will lean in, and I hope too that we, and I'm gonna jump in with Kenny and the crew at Gloo to just be a part of this conversation as we figure out what these opportunities are. But we're gonna lean in rather than wait and see in this day. And so I'm excited for what's to come. And Brad, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no, thanks for all you're doing out there, helping churches lead too. We're very appreciative, and thanks for this time.
Absolutely. So we'll leave a link to the gloo.us/AI. It's a direct link in the show notes on socialmedia.church, and then we'll leave contact information or anything else where you can connect with Gloo and find out more about all the things that they do and provide to churches around the country. Thanks so much for listening. We will connect with you again on the next episode.